Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President of the Federal Shettima, GCOA, the Executive Director, the Deputy Chief of Staff to Mr. President,
to the Coordinating Minister of Finance, and the Vice President is giving me a full briefing. It's just a joy for me to come back, meet with you again, and give you the assurance that, well, since we've gone into this tunnel of reform, we have our hands on the plow and we're never going to look back. It is very clear that initially it was painful, difficult, but those who win are not those who give up along the way in difficult times. Nigeria is the heart of the continent, and it is necessary for us to do what is necessary to strengthen the economy, particularly looking at the young population of this country, looking at vaster area of arable lands. How do we employ mechanization and make agriculture easier? I've embarked upon that. There will be zonal mechanization centers to help the farmers, working on the seedings that we enhance the program, whichever way World Bank can come in on seedings. Now that our petrochemical industry is getting, good output, so how do we help the farmers to convert local market for fertilizers to improve their yields and move them from ordinary small-scale holders to huge cooperative and confident farmers that can bring, opportunity to Nigerians. That's about it. The remaining assurance is for me to assure you that reform is a continuous exercise. We're not looking back. Transparency, accountability, and change that dynamics and business orientation and the principle of accountability. We're not looking back on that. And it was difficult for a leader to look the other way in any corrupt environment for an opportunity that can give him one ton of money in subsidy regime. No. In multiple exchange, give it up. Let the world and the country benefit from a stable currency. And yes, the first reaction was the high inflation, but it's come down dramatically. The Naira is stable. Today, we can help, various investors make it ease of doing business in and out of the country is what we stimulate the partnership and be beneficial. But I want the World Bank to look at various options of financing, teaching the model what is the value of encouragement for an Africa that is taking this huge population on an assurance of prosperity? How can you accelerate that growth in a partnership with us? It's very important to me. Any way that we can cut bureaucracy and, push the risk, and develop the skill of our people is why I'm seeing you this afternoon. So please accelerate that. You are very welcome at any given time. Thank you very much.
Number of reforms at that time. And as your colleagues know, and my colleagues know, Nigeria is a frequent example in my discussions with people around the world, presidents around the world, policymakers around the world, investors around the world, because I think in these 2 years, the results that have been achieved are really commendable. And what I have particularly appreciated and followed, if I may also add, is your steady direction that you communicate to the people of Nigeria, as well as outside of Nigeria, of the importance of the reforms. Because that has given confidence and clarity that even when reform implementation can be difficult, there is no turning back. You're staying the course because it is what's needed to get the results that you're looking for. So this is a very powerful method, because many times it's easy to say we slow down or we change or we reverse. But I must say you've been very steady, and it has been very noted and from time to time quoted by myself as well. So I just wanted to share this with you, because 2 years ago you were very much at the launching stage, and here we are 2 years later with very strong results. And we heard it from the private sector in Lagos on Sunday as well as yesterday. And I think it's just remarkable and commendable. So just wanted to start with that. And now maybe just if I may, you said it so well on the country partnership framework, so I won't go into any great detail, but a couple of opportunities that I see with this particular forward-looking strategy. First of all, under Ajay Banga's leadership, he wants these strategies to be truly anchored in your vision for your country. So a $1 trillion GDP and 7% growth, that for me now becomes the operating framework that we need to work with. How do we contribute to that vision? And as Honorable Minister mentioned, we have identified a number of different areas that we think are important, with the view that we're focused on creation of jobs. As I've always also mentioned often, I'm very bullish on this continent. It's the only continent in the world that has a rising population. In 2050, 1 of 4 will be an African, and 40% of those will be young people. So we need to pay attention to Africa, because Africa holds the key to the future, in my view. But creating jobs for all these people will be very difficult. Africa alone is 600 million people of working age by 2050, in addition to today's people who would like to contribute and have jobs. So jobs is what we've identified as something very important as a result we're seeking. Job creation, jobs that allow people to have upward mobility, because the best way out of poverty ultimately is that people have their own livelihoods and incomes. So in that regard, absolutely, infrastructure keeps coming up, and Nigeria actually has one of the lower end spending per GDP on infrastructure. So public-private solutions, it will require both, but we do believe the private sector will need to play a role. Agriculture is a huge part of the economy, a huge employer. You have innovations here that are very interesting. We'd like to take them to scale through mechanization, through cooperatives, through linking into value chains, whether it's better roads, better finance, better technology. We think that's another very important area. We heard yesterday from the private sector that small, medium, and large-sized enterprises have different experiences, and my colleagues will talk more about this. Some of the small ones have access to microfinance. Some of the large ones can establish themselves and have access to banks. The middle ones are a bit lost. So that's where the access to finance solutions that we think we need to creatively work on together, and my colleagues have some ideas on this. Small, medium, and large enterprises account for most of the job creation around the world, sometimes 70, 80, 90%. So we think this is an engine for your country. And then on human development, I want to really acknowledge the work that you're doing on a human development strategy. I know you've identified stunting as a major concern. Many countries around the world, even middle-income, upper-middle-income countries, are suffering again with rising levels of stunting. And here we've identified work on early childhood development as a potential strong entry point. So all of this just to say we're looking forward to a new country partnership framework. What you will see from our side is that it needs to be absolutely resonating with you and the people of Nigeria, as the World Bank being a close partner. And the other thing we want you to see is that you're getting a bundled solution from the public sector side of the World Bank and the private sector side of the World Bank. And just by perhaps ending on this note of our partnership that we can do together, our portfolio on IDA and IBRD, which is the public sector side, is about $17 billion today. And every year, Nigeria continues to be one of the largest clients of the World Bank, mostly IDA, the very concessional financing, but from time to time also IBRD financing, which is good to have the two, which has slightly different terms. IFC has grown in the last few years tremendously and is now doing about $5 billion a year in Nigeria. This is all private sector, and it includes mobilization. And we also have a vice president from our multilateral investment guarantee agency here today in Nigeria since also Sunday morning, looking at expanding the offering of risk reduction, guarantees, insurance schemes to help the private sector. They have just over $500 million today, but are very interested in growing the service offering here. Finally, when you and I met last time, you were inquiring about speeding up on the support we were doing to the budget. And I took that at heart, and I think we sped up. And I have to say this instrument has really been effective. We hadn't used it for a long time. We started using it again. And because you're so reform-oriented, it's the perfect instrument because it's your reforms and our support to the budget. So they go hand in hand. We are preparing a new one right now, which has, again, great reforms that you are doing. And we have a package of reforms that I know are still making their way through that we think can also be very, very impactful when it comes to the jobs, the private sector, and making sure that we also deal with the adjustment that you're still dealing with, which is particularly inflation is down quite impressively, but I know it's still something you're keeping an eye on. So continuing to focus on some of those packages of reform, whether it is in trade, whether it is on, I know, the digital code that you're still working through. Yesterday we heard from the private sector, for youth, digital is the fuel. So all the work you're doing on digital is just amazing because that's where their energy comes from and goes to. So I think there's a lot we can do together, but I'm really honored to meet you again. Sorry if I talk too much about Nigeria around the world. I don't think that you might mind. It's all very good. I often get the question of, which countries should we be tracking in Africa, and Nigeria is always top of my mind. So thank you so much for allowing the World Bank Group to be a steadfast partner, and we look forward to the elaboration of this partnership in the country partnership framework going forward. Thank you.
Mr. Ethiopis Tarafa from IFC, and of course, our resident country director and the other members of the World Bank delegation who are resident in Nigeria. Your Excellency, sir, it's a privilege to welcome this World Bank group on your behalf to Abuja as we move, and we have been working all day actually on finalizing the country partnership framework 2026 to 2032 that will govern the way in which we interact and no doubt benefit from the World Bank. And this engagement does reflect a shared commitment to deepening our partnership that has evolved over the years into a collaborative agenda for structural transformation, for competitiveness, and for sustainable growth. May I just say, Your Excellency, that under your leadership, as is evident over the last 2.5 years or so, Nigeria is undergoing far-reaching and internationally recognized economic reform program, which has repositioned our economy, I dare say, for long-term resilience. Guided by your New Hope agenda, we are moving towards your target of a 1 trillion GDP economy, hopefully by 2030. And in the meantime, we're aiming for 7% per annum GDP growth. The World Bank has been witness, amongst others, to all the macroeconomic measures taken to remove distortions, stabilize the economy, and now consolidate. And of course, the rating agencies, amongst others, have recognized the progress made. So the strategic priorities, 2026 to 2032, Your Excellency, we are seeking a country partnership framework that is based on large-scale infrastructure, transport, logistics, connectivity, industrialization, power, energy, electricity, a just transition. And in agriculture, AgriConnect, the Bank of Agriculture in particular, stands ready to work on a platform that really gives us the data and information to help our farmers. And likewise, of course, human capital development and digitization. So, sir, Your Excellency, Nigeria's future development, as we have pointed out, the model is anchored on mobilizing private sector financing, investment, and funding on a large scale. We're transitioning away from reliance on sovereign borrowing, and we are prioritizing financing structures that unlock private sector participation. And the government's role is to help de-risk private investment, and we look to the World Bank as one of our trusted development partners to scale the catalytic instruments, guarantees, blended finance, risk-sharing facilities to unlock billions in global investment and deepen private sector participation as the engine of growth. In conclusion, sir, the presence of this high-level delegation, it does signal confidence in you, confidence in your reform program, your direction, your leadership, and the momentum that we have gained. And the aim is to maintain it and to sustain it credibly and on a long-term basis. On that note, sir, once again, I welcome the world.